On today's episode, I'm going to talk about something that I think Bulls Nation and Bulls fans need to hear. We're going to talk about the real reasons to believe in this team, between Josh Giddey on an all-star type path to the bench becoming an absolute weapon around the NBA, and Coby White proving that he definitely fits in with this team. We're going to talk about all that, plus what Chicago Bulls are building towards, and preview tonight's game against the Miami Heat. All that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go and get into this content today, y'all. And yeah, man, we got some things to talk about, bro. I want to talk about the reasons to believe in this Bulls team. There's enough pessimistic people going around. And, you know, there's a lot of trade talk with Anthony Davis and everything going around as well. But I want to talk about what we have on this team and the reasons to believe in this team. As many people know, I came in probably one of the more optimistic Chicago Bulls content creators in regards to what this team could be this season. And I've seen a lot of things that do solidify that. And there have definitely been some signs for concern as well. Make no mistake about that, right? But on today's episode, we're going to talk about the positive reasons to believe in this Bulls team. And the first thing that I want to bring up, the bench. This Chicago Bulls team bench is legit. Not only are we leading the NBA in bench scores scored in points per game, but also you got to keep in mind, like, we still haven't even seen the full version of this bench. Now, right now, Coby White, with him coming off the bench, while he's ramping back up, he's definitely going to inflate the bench scoring because he's still going to play starter level minutes and he's going to put up points, right? But even without Coby White, even before Coby White returned to this team, the team was still fourth in overall bench points scored on the season. But it's not just about the offense. It's also the defense in this bench, right? Jalen Smith has been absolutely great so far this season, so much so that I had an episode a couple of days ago talking about him and Ayo Dosunmu and how they are really the Bulls' secret weapons coming off the bench at this point in time, because Tre and Kevin Huerter have been starting, right? Like, Tre's out now, so Kevin Huerter's starting in his place. And it's been really good to see those two guys in the rhythm that they've got on. Now, Jalen Smith didn't have a great game against Denver. He's recovering from that shoulder injury. Shouts out to him to be able to still play, right? But, I think overall, looking at just those two players, that's great. But then let's talk about this. When the Bulls bench when the team's fully healthy, you're talking about Tre Jones, Kevin Huerter, Ayo Dosunmu, Jalen Smith, Zach Collins, Patrick Williams is as good as he's played in this role, right? All those, that's 6 players, right? So you could possibly go 11 players deep every single game. And so this bench is legit, man. The depth is a luxury. And a lot of teams this season have prioritized depth, but the Bulls have it in different levels in different spates, right? So that's where a lot of the specialness of this team is. This bench has come in and changed the tone of games. And that's always the marking of a really special bench. When a bench can come in and either, continue the energy that your starters set or completely dictate the energy and pick up where maybe the starters didn't set the best tone, that's usually the signs and the hallmarking of a really good bench there. The next thing, Josh Giddey is legit. And listen, so many people spent so much this offseason, wondering what Josh Giddey was going to be. He was talked about so heavily as far as, is he going to be this player, that player? The thing that I always go back to with Josh Giddey, when the season ended last year and we had the postseason pressures, and Josh Giddey said, the player that I ended this season is more like who I'm going to be for this team going forward. And through the first, 15 games of this season, he's done nothing but prove exactly that. 20 points, 9.8 rebounds, 9.7 assists. He's averaging almost a triple-double, exactly with what he was doing last year. But there's an even bigger twist to that. He's improved as an off-ball player, which is great to see, right? Like, to see Josh Giddey, one of the things that was always a question for him, and one of the reasons why the Coby White, Josh Giddey backcourt was in question when it was, is that, on ball, off ball. Coby White isn't the best off ball player. He said that himself. Josh Giddey definitely hasn't been the best off ball player, which is part of why he didn't work out in OKC. But Josh Giddey has grown as an off ball player. We saw that when Tre Jones was healthy at the start of this season. Josh Giddey was playing more off ball, taking more off ball threes, those type of things. And if Josh Giddey is going to be able to do that, now the 3-point shooting is falling back down to earth a little bit. He started off the season shooting over 40% from three. He's now at 37.3% from three, right around what he was last season, right? But he's taken a half a three extra per game. But that is still major for this team. It makes teams have to guard Josh Giddey as a three-level scorer because he can shoot the three. We know he can create off driving, which is where he's really special at as well. And he's developed a nice bag in getting to the rim, that spin move. Now, I will say this. He's gone to the spin move sometimes where he's way too far out from the rim to go into the spin move, but it still has turned into a legit weapon for him. And defensively, Josh Giddey is putting up the best defensive numbers of his career as well. All these things factored into this, Josh Giddey is legit, and I would not be surprised at all if Josh Giddey is an all-star this year, especially in that Eastern Conference. Well, they're doing it differently now because they're doing Team World versus USA. So we'll see how the voting works out in that one and how that maybe affects him. But, Josh Giddey is legit, man. And Josh Giddey, it's been a lot to see from him, and I love seeing what we've seen from Josh Giddey. Next, the Bulls record, right? I know a lot's been made that the Bulls have had the toughest schedule in the NBA up until this point. They now move into a place where they're going to have one of the easiest schedules in the NBA. But even taking that away, right? There's no doubt that this Bulls team has played down to competition at times. And that is a legit concern about this team, and something that we need to see this team improve on and get better on is not playing down to the level of competition. But let's look at the Bulls' wins. The Bulls have played against basically all their wins have come against playoff caliber teams. Pistons, Knicks, Philly, Denver, right? They've beat 4 of the top 7 teams in the Eastern Conference. They beat the number 2 team in the West. They lose to the Utah Jazz as well. So there's that part of it, right? But this team has beat some really good teams over this run to start off the season. And because of that, it feels like it's more legitimate that they can be able to continue to do that. If they eliminate the playing down the competition part of it, this is a team that's going to be really legit this season. And so this is not one of those seasons where like the Bulls are just beating bottom feeders, right? And then thus it doesn't feel as legit when you're only beating those teams that are bottom feeders. Now, you need to take care of business against those teams as well, right? But you look at Philly, 9-6, Detroit 13-12, New York 9-5, right? These are teams that we beat this season. And so that's really good. Even the Orlando Magic, 9-7 on the season, right? So like the Bulls have really came in and competed really well against teams. Now, that does not mean that they haven't dropped the ball in some, which is another sign of concern, especially the fourth quarters, the first quarters, the things that we've talked about like in yesterday's episode. But this Bulls team has beat really good teams this season. And I think that's reason to, at this point in the season right now, 14 games in, to continue to trust that the path that this team is on feels legitimate. And then the last point that I want to make here, we still have not seen this team at full strength yet. We have not seen it. Coby White, while back, is still limited, not playing back-to-backs. Tre Jones is out. Zach Collins is still out, right? We have not seen a single game, a single game of our projected 10-man lineup. We just haven't. We haven't seen a single game of that. All those guys being healthy yet. Now, through not seeing that, we've given players like Jalen Smith and Patrick Williams, players that were kind of expected to kind of have to fight for that back-end spot in the rotation. We've seen those guys get opportunities, and they've played pretty well, which further goes on to strengthen how deep this team can be this season. But once this team gets back out, or gets to full strength for the first time this year, what kind of run does that team go on? Because you're looking at a team that legitimately can go 12 players deep every single game. Now, I don't expect that to happen, at least not in meaningful minutes, right? But just the fact that you have that luxury there, the fact that you have the many different looks that you can throw out at this team, those are all things of signs for definitely positivity and faith in this team. Now, there are definitely some reasons for concern as well. We'll get into those on tomorrow's episode. I know people are going to bring up Billy Donovan's coaching and the rotations at times, trusting Vooch late in games, all those type of things. And those are legitimate questions to be asked for sure. But I think when you look at this team, there are plenty of signs that this team is going to be good this season. Now, that 5-game losing streak, rightfully so, worried a lot of people, and now it changed their faith in this team. And I can't knock anybody for that, because that 5-game losing streak sucked ass. And the Bulls sucked ass a lot in that streak as well, right? So we get to see what they do over these next games. But on yesterday's episode, I talked about the next 12 games for the Bulls and how important it is to come out of those next 12 games with a winning record. And at that point, we'll see what the future does hold. But I really, really love this team. I love the makeup of this team. I love the vibe around this team more times than not as well. We just got some things that we need to shore up. But this is a Bulls team that definitely is looking up and looking like they've improved in some areas. But moving on from that to the next topic, right? And that is, I want to talk about Coby White. Coby White, Alec Jacoby White, man. Only 2 games back so far for the Chicago Bulls, but I think in those 2 games, Coby has absolutely shown what his value is to this team, right? And you look at what he's averaging, 26 points per game, 2.5 rebounds, which is actually pretty low for him. Wonder if that changes when he gets in the starting lineup. 7.5 assists per game. For people that tried to paint Coby as some black hole this offseason, he's proven he's not that. 47% shooting from 3 right now. That's definitely going to come down some, right? 45% shooting from the field. Coby White right now is balling, bro. And it's good to see Coby White coming back and play this way because keep in mind, one of the things that's pending and looking over this season is the contract situation of Coby White. Now, reportedly, Coby White is looking for a contract around $30 million. And I would say this, if that Coby White averages 25, 5, and 5, he's going to get that money easily. And he could get that money even without doing that, depending on where this team is, right? Now, with Coby White, since Coby White made his return, they're 2-1. In that one game, he didn't play in one of those games as well, so there's that part of it. A lot of the offseason was spent around negotiating with Josh Giddey. Now, the question becomes, how much of this offseason turns into a negotiation with Coby White, or how much do the Bulls try to get this done? Yes, Coby White's going to have to become an unrestricted free agent, to get the $30 million that he wants. The thing with that is, though, is that there is an exclusive negotiation period that I think lasts 3 days before the actual opening of free agency, where the Bulls can re-sign Coby as an unrestricted free agent and before he'll ever meet with another team. Some similar things have happened with, I think Zach LaVine did go a little bit into the start of the season, but like Nikola Vucevic and things like that, right? When you look at Coby White and what he's had to go through his career, his role has changed every single year but this year. And one could even say that his role changed this year because of injury, because now he's coming off the bench. But his role overall would be very similar to how he finished last season, right? And so Coby White is a player that has shown himself as a scorer. Without Zach LaVine on the court, he's shown himself to be able to step right into that as well, right? He averaged 23 points per game. In the last 31 games of the season, that was without Zach LaVine. He shot 48% from the field and 38% from 3 on very, very high volume at that, right? Now, he's already continued the momentum built off that season. Much like I said with Josh Giddey, Coby White has definitely come into the season picking up right where he left off last year, just coming off the bench now because they're slowly working him back in after injury, right? In the 2 games since he returned, we already talked about averaging 26 points per game, 7 assists, 45% shooting, 47% shooting from 3. Really good things. Coby White has also, been seemingly, hey, let me play off these guys, which leads to the 7.5 assists that he's had as well over that time period. Coby White was drafted by the Bulls, in 2019. And over that time, he's had a lot of different roles. He's grown as a player, but more importantly, I think that he's grown as a man. And that's the thing that really stands out, much like with Josh Giddey. One of the things I didn't point out with Josh Giddey in the segment that I talked about him is that Josh Giddey's really stepped into a leadership role this year for the Bulls. Coby White has really stepped into a role where it's like he understands now where he fits in, and that was always the thing that was gonna kind of help dictate how well Coby was gonna play in this version of the team, how well he can fit in and pick his spots. And it seems like he has done that through 2 games. Now it's only 2 games, small sample size. We'll see how things ramp back up when it comes down to it, right? But Coby White is a guy that right now has shown that he's not only worth the money I think that he's asking for, but I do think he's likely to get it. Right now, of course, the Bulls have other unrestricted free agents in Ayo Dosunmu and I would say Nikola Vucevic, Kevin Huerter, Zach Collins, all those guys, right? And they have to make a decision on what their roster looks like. AK said at the beginning of the season that they're evaluating for long-term fit, right? That's what they're looking at. Who fits with the direction that this team is going long-term? And I love that he said that because I think that's a good place to be in an evaluation period. But Coby is showing that he's probably going to be the next $100 million guard on this Bulls roster. The question then becomes about, all right, you're paying, $30 million for Coby White, $25 million for Josh Giddey. That's $55 million for your starting backcourt. If you look around starting caliber backcourts in the NBA, that's really not that uncommon, but you have to win. And that is what I think a big part of the season is still going to come down to. How successful are we this season? Because I tell you what, if this is a Bulls team that does finish avoiding the play-in, let's say they do finish in the top 6. Let's say they do finish with a 42 to 45, 6-ish record. I don't see AK letting one of the biggest pieces of that go in the offseason, and he's going to more so look to build on top of that, especially with the cap flexibility that we do have coming into the season. And that's just what we got to see and what AK is going to have to prove, what's going to be determined by what happens on the basketball court. But those things are looking pretty solid and look like they're going to be in a pretty good place, right? But overall, I'll say this. I love what we've seen from Coby White. I think that Coby White has come in and he should silence a lot of doubters. And the people that were saying, oh, Coby White doesn't fit this team, we need to move off Coby White now, they've been a little bit quieter since Coby White has come back. And I always love it. And that's not just to be a petty thing. I love it when players, when their play dictates a change in how they're viewed. That's what I love so much about Josh Giddey and the people that, through the Bulls season at the start of it have had to say, hey, listen, I was wrong on Josh Giddey. I love that because it's coming from the player proving it on the basketball court. If you prove it on what's the saying I always say, if a player proves it on the court or on the field, if it's football, and the haters just keep hating at that point, that says more about them than it says about the player. And that's just what it comes down to. Coby White through 2 games so far has proved a lot. But it's a long season ahead, and we're going to go through more trials. We're going to go through some more rough patches, and we're going to see how the team comes out of that. But I have trust in Coby White. I have faith in Coby White and who the player and the man that he's turned into for the Chicago Bulls team. And I'd admit it, too. Is there a little bit of, because Coby White has been here, he's been in this organization, he's been in this team, do I have a little bit of do I have an affinity for Coby White? Absolutely. Because there's something to be said about homegrown players and watching a player, get to watch a player mature as a player and a man in your uniform. And that's what we've gotten to see from Coby White. And so I am going to always support and rock with Coby. Coby just got to go out there and prove it. And I think as long as he proves on the basketball court, everything else is going to come for him easily. All right, let's get into the last topic for today. Since we do have a game today, that means we're previewing the game. Bulls versus Miami Heat. The Miami Heat are coming into this game with a 9-6 record. They are the 6th best team defensively in the NBA per defensive rating at 113. They're 15th in offensive rating at 117 and 11th in net rating. This team has completely changed and revamped how they play offense. They're playing a lot quicker pace than what they did last season. And that's really helped them, get Bam and those players out to the start that we've seen them get out to. They are a team that don't turn the ball over a lot, right? They much like the Bulls, they spread the ball around with getting the assist numbers and things like that. It's really good to see. I'm sure Heat fans are very excited about what this team could be this season. But the Bulls cannot come into this game and not rebound. Now, that's one of the places that surprisingly, with Bam and Khalil Ware, it's surprisingly where this team is actually not excelled at. They're 26th in rebounding percentage in the league, right? 21st in offensive rebounding percentage. And with the Bulls getting killed on the boards against the Portland Trailblazers, something that kept that Trailblazers team in that game, the Bulls have to rebound. You cannot let Bam Adebayo and Khalil Ware come into this game and completely kill you on the boards. If you do, it's going to be an ugly day for you, right? And so with Wiggins already being listed as being out this game, Tyler Hero's not making his return until Monday is when he'll be making his first return to the court. They're going to be down those players. Nikola Jovic is also out in this game on Friday also. So with that said, but the Bulls have their own injuries. And as we've seen before, just because teams are missing key players doesn't mean that they can't beat the Bulls, right? Norman Powell is going to be an interesting watch because this is the type of player that we have Okoro in the starting lineup to guard. And if Okoro can't guard Norman Powell, it's going to be a long night for him. I'm not expecting him to stop Powell at all, but you have to be able to slow him down. Powell is averaging 25 points per game. 25 points per game. He's playing really well on the season. He's tied for 18th as far as best scorers in the NBA this season. He's shooting the ball almost 50% from the field and 47% from three-point range. And I would like to say that 40% three-point shooting is probably not going to be maintained, but he's already coming off 4 seasons in a row of 40% three-point shooting. So you have to stop Norman Powell. Norman Powell is the exact type of scorer that gets in a rhythm and completely disrupts what the Chicago Bulls have going on. The Bulls have to be prepared and look out for that because if they don't, Norman Powell is going to torch you, and he's going to help that team get in the rhythm. Bam's averaging 19 points, or basically 20 points per game himself as well, and they have this Miami Heat team has almost 10 players averaging in double figures. Now, some of those players aren't going to be playing in this game. You got to look out for Davion Mitchell as well, right? And Fontecchio. Also, this team has players that can fill in and score it. The depth in which they score at is something that has given the Bulls fits. When teams have players that they can throw waves of players that everybody's scoring decently well on high efficiency, That has caused the Bulls some problems today. So what I want to see for the Bulls today, rebound, rebound, rebound. This is not a great rebounding team, so you have to take advantage of that with your rebounding to keep them off the boards. Do not allow Khalil Ware and Bam Adebayo to completely eat you up in the paint. If you do, it's going to be a long night. Don't take bad shots because this is a team that plays with a similar pace to you. So if you take bad shots and they get those rebounds, they're going to take off down the court. Your defense is not going to have time to set up. This is going to be a good game. A good game to watch and a good test for the Chicago Bulls to see how they come out of this. This is the Bulls' last game against a team above 500 for a while, so I really would love to see the Bulls get a win here, the third in a row. But as we know, this Bulls team has to lock in because they shit the bed sometimes, and this has to be one of those situations, especially with Coach Eric Spoelstra, who we all know can outcoach Billy Donovan. You got to be prepared for this one. You got to be looking out for this one. If you don't, you can get punched in the face. It can turn into a long night for you. So let's see what this Bulls team does tonight. But Bulls fans, to end the show and to wrap it up, this team has given us reasons to believe in this team absolutely. Depth, development, the two guards that are really good as far as Josh Giddey and Coby White playing at a really high level, and the schedule is finally start lightening up a little bit for the Bulls. The Chicago Bulls have a chance to make a real run here, right? And so we'll see what they can do with it. But I want to thank you guys for rocking with Chicago Bulls Central as always. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well. Always drop your thoughts down below. You can follow us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, but that is thanks to you, lovely and beautiful people. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See you right if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.